Hey there, what I see is people letting their businesses run their lives versus them leading their business to love their life. I see this in corporate jobs, and I see where we step into expectations that other people have of us that do not honor us and allow us to lead our own life. Welcome to this episode, and I'm glad you're here to listen. From the corners of my mind is where I find my sanity. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Lead Your Life with Debbie Heiser. I am beyond thrilled to have my good friend and bat phone woman, Erin Marcus, and I'll explain the bat phone here in a minute.
And her
cat Fluffy, her shaved cat. For those of you that can't see, her body is shaved and her head has this like poofy hair. But part of why I want to share where Erin and I met. And part of what intrigues me so much about you, Erin. So Erin and I met, 3.5 years ago, it doesn't matter, it was somewhere in there, 3 years ago or so, at a mastermind with our business coach. And I'll never forget you, because here I come in, I'm a little naive, right? And Miss Prim and Proper. And here comes Erin. And I think you had your black like biker boots on. And, like you were like in this like tough exterior. And I'm like, I want to get to know her, right? Like just this like interesting person that walked in the door. And what I so admired about you during that, and what I admire and appreciate and look for now from you, is this ability to be candid. And you're like, no bullshit, because what happens is Erin shows up in a way that I know whatever she says to me, whatever you say to me, is in my best interest. Yes. And so it could be a slap in the face. And I'm like, thank you, may I have another? Right? Because I know that it is, like it is out of your heart, and it's to help move me past whatever's got me stuck or whatever's got me in a swirl. And so for that, publicly, thank you. But Erin and I have since been in a smaller cohort together, and then started to become friends. And I pushed her on the emotional side and like open up to your feminine, and like we do this yin and yang kind of thing back and forth. And now seriously, I tell people Erin is my bat phone when it comes to business and other things, and she has spoken a lot of truth into my life. And so I know this is going to be a really fun podcast to listen to. But Erin, I want you though to explain to the listeners what it is that you do and what business that you run. And then we're going to have a conversation about how you lead your lit up life.
Awesome. Well, thank you. This is amazing. Always enjoy talking to you. Always worried about any of our conversations being recorded, but okay. Could go anywhere. So Erin Marcus, founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business. What do? I work at the intersection where what you need to do, business strategy, marketing, messaging, what you need to do to grow your business meets who you need to be to do it. Because the plan doesn't matter if you can't do the plan. And I work with driven entrepreneurs who want to be able to get that financial and emotional freedom in order to build a business and a life that they're proud of. I think one of the dirty little secrets in the entrepreneurial world, especially for those of us who come out of corporate when we're successful in corporate, is we're a little embarrassed that we're not doing better. We're actually we've stopped being proud of ourselves, which is a brutal reality. And so I work with driven entrepreneurs who want to build lives and businesses that they're not just happy about, it's not just that they love them, but they're proud of them. I think that's a different level.
Yeah. And Erin, you know what? It's interesting because as you say that, I know I had gotten away from in the last couple of months. For me, it's a mind game kind of thing. So I had gotten away from writing down like my 3 wins that I had every day. And I don't, you and I have a business coach that she has a form for that. I don't necessarily fill out the form, but when I step back and take a moment to remember, like, what happened today that was a needle moving activity? What happened that helped someone move out of their stuckness or move into this person that they need to be to go execute on the great plans that they have? All of those things, when I kind of just take a moment to, before I go to bed, to think about what are 3 things that I feel really good about and really proud of, it makes a huge difference because it takes you into the gain. And I've been talking about this 3-dimensional spiral,
Mhm.
right? And how when we gain momentum, we move up in the vibrational spiral. And when we lose lose some of that momentum, we can start to beat ourselves up, and the critical parent comes out and all of these types of things. And when we're not proud of ourselves and we just keep going because we've heard these messages, give 140% of yourself,
Right.
drink the red Kool-Aid, right? Now corporate was very good to me, so I don't want to bash it too hard, but like, you can't do anything on your own. Then we start to spiral into this dark side.
Well,
And
and
I know you run into that a lot with
coming out of
clients.
corporate, you know, a couple of things there. Number one, I was extremely successful in corporate. I was extremely successful in a male dominated industry.
Yeah.
And when you leave corporate, so there's two sides of this. When you leave corporate, part of what you realize, the horrible truth is, you were very, very successful in a designated path with bumpers in the gutters. And once the bumpers are out of the gutters, the wheels come off the bus, the whole thing comes off the rails, and you kind of like floaty balloon around and you don't know what to do. But there's another piece of it. There's a lot of external validation in corporate. There's a lot of attaboys in corporate.
Yeah.
You get bonuses, you get promotions, you get raises. If you're not in a company that does that, by the way, that's a whole different problem. But I was in a company that was very, very good about external validation and appreciative of what team did. And then I find myself with nobody telling me how great I was doing. Right. So let's just put this all together. There's nobody telling me how much they appreciate me. There's nobody giving me a bonus. There's nobody telling me how wonderful I am. There's no promotions. The bumpers are out of the gutter, so I don't even know what to do with myself. And the reason I left corporate to start my own business was because I think I'm so smart. Look at how great I'm doing. No problem. That just did not go well.
Right. Okay. So give us some hacks. What do you know, like I just talked about looking at my 3 kind of needle moving, what are the things I'm proud of that day? Or, like I had a meeting yesterday with a client that something that she's been working on, like happened and she got it. And like this thing dropped in for her and life has been in flow for the last month for her. And I was just like, yay. So give us some hacks. What are some things you do to give yourself some of that attaboy, right? Because it's lonely sometimes as an entrepreneur.
It's the mindset work like you're talking about is definitely a thing. Keeping that front and center, starting with gratitude, starting with wins, not just so that we don't focus too much on the to-do list instead of the, hey, look at what I did list. The other thing is changing the mindset. Corporate is inherently competitive. Even in the most, and I corporate was good to me. I had great relationships. I had amazing opportunities. But the bottom line is I was senior vice president and there was only one of me in that role. And even when there was hundreds, no matter how big the company got, there was only one of me in that role. That's inherently competitive because if someone else wanted that career path, they had to, like, you got to come through me to get there. It just wasn't a thing. So there's this inherent competition in corporate. So you have to learn how to reframe the win. You have to learn how to reframe what is a win. And you're going to laugh. So, I talk to my animals, I talk to my pets. Yes. And one of the shifts that happened for me was I was leaving the house one day and I always tell the dog that I'm leaving and I'll be back and don't worry and don't let any hippos in the house. And she was very good at not letting any hippos in the house because there was not a single time I came home to a hippo. But I would one day, literally by complete accident, I looked at the dog and I said, be a good girl. I'll be back. I have to go help some people today. I don't know why that came out of my mouth that day because the day was going to be full of sales consultations. Day was going to be, it wasn't client work, it was sales consultations. And for whatever reason, now I'm walking down the stairs going, that was interesting. And I just kept saying that. And so I've adjusted my definition of a win.
Yeah.
To be of service. How did I help somebody? Did I, internally and externally, who did I help today? And then internally, did I do what I said I was going to do? Internally, integrity, right? Was I in integrity today? Did I do what I said that I was going to do when I said I was going to do it, the way that I said I was going to do it?
Yeah. And Erin, you know what? I had this hit as you were talking, in the fact that something that just came to me is that when we're in that competitive environment, and this could be a small business, medium-sized business, or a corporation, but both of us came from corporate. And when you're in that and you're trying to be the fast leader and you're trying to stay ahead of the competition, and even internally sales competitions and sales this, and I'm competing with my colleague and this and that, that is a scarcity mindset.
100%. And it's not
And
even on
so
purpose.
no, it's not at all. It's the way it's set up. And what's interesting is I always used to, back in the day, I'm aging myself, when I was a manager of salespeople and I was the director of training for Yellow Pages. I always used to tell people, if you go into it and you go into it with the act of service to help people live their hopes, wishes, and dreams by bringing them more clients, then the numbers will happen. Right. And people used to get so befuddled with me because they're like, what are you talking about? Like, they need to sell this many in this many hours. I'm like, no. And I've always kind of been that way. And there was this dichotomy of tension with that competitive nature for me. I always did really well. I was ranked number 1 at Citibank and between 10 peers, but it's like, how does that work? And that just hit me, that ultimately then when you move out of corporate, there's also this shift that takes place around, it's not like scratching to make the next dollar, it's abundance. And how can I be of service? So it's almost as if it's flipped. And if you're a small business and medium-sized business, I think this is really critical, because that focus on how you serve your clients needs, when you go there, then the sales happen, the money happens.
Well, and I made that truly my business, going through different seasons of business. One of the things that created a leap forward was when I looked at my marketing, because that, I have an MBA in marketing and a degree in journalism and all, so I know the messaging and the marketing strategy and the business strategy, but I literally went through everything I was doing. And I asked myself, how is this helping somebody? How is this helping somebody? How is this helping somebody? Not just clients. How is my marketing helping somebody?
Yeah.
How is my sales process helping, regardless of the outcome? And I think that is, when people start getting sales training and following a more high integrity sales process, and you keep hearing the phrase sales is service, sales is service, a lot of them, that's great. What the hell does that actually mean? It means is every stage of your business designed to help somebody. And if there's anything in your business that's not created to move someone else forward or help someone else out, because here's the thing, don't confuse that with a lack of boundaries. I'm not telling you to give everything away. I'm not telling you to not charge what you're worth. Those two things have nothing to do with each other.
Right.
But is everything you're doing in your business of service? And if not, what can you do to make it of service?
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
It goes back. I mean, this and it's stupid stuff. I hate calendar links. I freaking hate them. Why would I give somebody work? If somebody sends me a calendar link, first of all, I'm not allowed to touch the calendar, so there's like a whole thing. But I immediately forward the calendar link to my assistant. And we very seldom start out by sending calendar links. Make it easy to be with you. Don't send someone work. Just take care of things. When we do our contracts, everything that we possibly know about somebody, we fill it out ahead of time. Nobody wants to screw around filling out forms. Yeah. If I could fill that out for them because I know them and I have that information, like, be of service.
Yeah. And it's interesting, Erin, as you say that, because currently I've gone through a system change, and it's funny because certain people like certain things, right? And so I'm going to use this one as an example where I've had my new admin, I call her my community builder, reach out to my clients to schedule. And because I feel like it's a personal touch, but yet I have 3 or 4 clients that are like, don't send me an email. Don't call
Yeah,
me.
send me a
Just
link.
send me
Okay,
a
cool.
link and let me find which one I want, right? Like
Perfect.
it's a control thing because how do I know that? I know that, right? Because
Because
that's how
that's
I
you. Is that
do my
you?
calendar.
Is that
And I'm
you?
going through a growth edge right
I
now,
just don't
letting
have
Sarah
time.
take control of my calendar, right? You know how big that is for me. Um,
I have
and so
control over this much.
I know, right? Right. Okay. So I want to talk to you too, though, because you truly are leading a lit up life and it's not all about work, right? Like
No.
now, when I say that, part of why I say that is because I know there's some people that say, oh, if you find what you love, you never work another day in your life. Well, A, that's crap because
Right?
there are
Because
things,
there's not every, I love what I do. Don't I can't even
right?
wrap my head around doing anything else. Do I love everything about it?
Right.
No.
Exactly.
No.
That's exactly where I
No.
was going. But
No.
but like, so part of why I say that is like, I feel like my work, and I know you feel this way, is like a DNA for you. It is like who you are. It's
Absolutely.
not the only who you are. And there are other things you do in your life that allow you to lead this lit up life. So tell me a little bit about like the switch that happened for you that made you decide to step out and become an entrepreneur.
The switch that happened for me. This is, I don't know if you know this. So I was fancy, right? I was very fancy. My title was Senior Vice President of Business Development for the largest long-term care insurance wholesaler in the country. I traveled across the country, putting big fancy deals together between banks, broker dealers, financial planners, and the insurance companies that produce the products. I worked with amazing, 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 wonderful people. And I was bored out of my mind. It was probably slightly an age thing. It suddenly felt contrived.
Mm.
The work was created to be work. Like, I don't even know how to explain it because I can't tell you how wonderful so many of these people were that I worked with, and I got to do amazing things. And at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm trying to put pieces together based on what computer systems will let you do, based on what products are approved in what state, so that 4 levels down from where I'm working, somebody could sell an insurance product to somebody and 870 million people can get paid a penny on it. This is nuts. Like, this is nuts. How did this system get created? And it was a little bit of a esoteric feeling, right? Like, why am I on this earth? Like, am I really on this earth to put this together this way? And I think some of that was age related because I was 40 at the time. I had gotten to the point where I had enough experience where I felt confident to go out on my own, but young enough to have enough energy to pull off whatever it was that I was going to do.
Yeah.
And I knew I needed to be doing something else. And I also knew I needed it to be mine. I was at the top of my game, right? I was at the top of the company. There was no reason for me to leave and get another job. There was
Right.
no reason to leave a company. And I was bored because I wasn't learning anything anymore. I mean, plenty of work, but I was bored because I wasn't actually learning anything anymore.
Yeah.
And there was no reason to go to an entry level at a different company for a subject matter expert just because I didn't
Right.
know the topic. And that's when I realized, oh my God, I actually just want to do something of my own that has a more direct impact on the person's life who I'm working with. And I mean, it took several iterations, not several, it took a couple iterations of what that turned out to be. And kind of to your point earlier, I looked at a dog boarding training facility because that's one of my
Yeah.
things. And I looked at a gym. And in both of those cases, the reason I didn't pursue them was I was scared to be tied to a building from 6 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. As I don't know if you've picked up on this, there's a little bit of energy. I can't do that. That's not a thing in my world, right?
That's not who you are.
That's
Well,
not a thing.
And I also know too, like when you're talking about like stepping in, that when this spurred for me because of the dog comment and the dog boarding place, is that on Fridays you spend time with a bunch of squirrels and raccoons
Literally,
and
possums,
possums.
ducks.
And so tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about that. Like,
So while I was still in corporate, I did start volunteering on Monday nights at a dog rescue. And I had done that for years and years and years. And then probably 10, 12 years. And then when we moved out to the west suburbs of Chicago, which is, I call where we live now on the edge where the suburbs become rural, there was still dog shelters. That's easy. But I wanted to learn something else, which is really one of the themes I've learned about myself, is I need to be constantly learning stuff, or I don't know what to do with all this energy. So I started volunteering at a wildlife rescue. And because I work for myself and I can make my own schedule, I go on Fridays. You know, they had enough volunteers on weekends, but I volunteer almost every Friday. I mean, I don't go if I have something to schedule, but almost every Friday year round. And it does several things for me. One, I work outside. I work with what I call the teenagers. They're out in the forest cages getting ready to be released. So I don't work in the nursery, I'm outside, and they're forest cages. The cages and enclosures are in the forest preserve. So I am immersed in nature, probably more than most people want to be immersed. I mean, this is not drinks on
I
the
don't know,
beach.
I ski Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's nature for me, right? I don't know if I want
Yeah.
possums crawling all over
This
me,
is
but
a
yes.
little different level of, I say it's not glamorous work. It's gross, it's dirty. Sometimes you get bit, but I'm immersed in it. And what's interesting is I have to pay attention to what I'm doing, mostly so nobody escapes, or as we call it, self-releases. Yes, it happens enough that there's a name for it.
That's funny.
But also it's easy enough that my mind settles, right? That balance between, I can't be bored, but I can use, part of my brain does that, and then part of my brain just stops. My boyfriend laughs because I literally do 99% of the food prep I do in my life is there. Right? I don't cook at home, but I can make a possum plate with fruits and vegetables like you wouldn't believe.
That's awesome. That's really funny, Erin, actually. Okay, so when I think about this, I think about the fact, I hear a couple of things, right? And I'm a firm believer in this too, so I'm filtering, and you can correct me on your philosophy on this or not. But part of being an entrepreneur is creating your own recognition. And that recognition can take multiple forms, right? Like I keep notes from clients and I do the how did I serve in the world today? What am I proud of? That kind of thing. Then also getting out in nature.
Yeah.
I push that one because I love to be out in nature, and you can always tell when I'm not because then I'm a little squirrely.
Yeah.
Pun intended.
I can self
And giving back, right? And moving into something that allows you to ground, but yet, like, as you say, you pay attention, but yet it grounds you and it calms your mind. Because otherwise we become these idea machines that just go, 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 and finally break down. And that's no good to anyone. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what's interesting is not everybody knows about my volunteer work. I mean, it is on my social media, because no matter how much we work on my content and my graphics and finding the right way to say things, sure, you get your few likes. And then I post a picture of the possum that scared me half to death because I didn't see him in the box he was in. And that gets, that goes viral, right? But even when I don't talk about it a lot, the fact that it's so intrinsic in my world helps me draw. It goes back to what I said, build a business and a life you're proud of. I get a ton of very philanthropic clients. Like, it doesn't even have to be what they talk to me about. And then months later, we realize, oh, well, you do this thing.
Yeah. It's a law of attraction.
It's a law of attraction. And I think it's the way that I look at what I'm doing and why I'm so driven to do it is my tagline is be in charge, take action, get results. The thing that I have watched over and over and over again, and I will tell you, I'm not sure where it comes from for me. I just never did a good job letting anyone tell. I don't understand it's supposed to be that way. Like that just never landed for me. What do you mean it's supposed to be that way? It's supposed to be however the hell I want it to be. Right? I mean, I've never, like, that's always been there. And then I worked with families with aging parents. First, like I said, with the long-term care insurance, and then in my first business. And I watched family after family after family go through heartbreak, suffer emotional toil, financial toil, because everybody was just sitting back and letting things happen. They weren't having difficult conversations. They weren't making decisions. Part of it was fear, and part of it was because they didn't know they were allowed to. Like they literally didn't know that you're allowed to be in charge of your own life.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm watching these people with terrible things happen just because they didn't make their own decisions, which means if you don't make decisions about you, people who are not vested in you will make those decisions. Doesn't make those bad people, right? Lawyers, doctors, the state, the laws, the government, they're all set up to take care of all the things. Might not be the way you want it taken care of, but if you don't make the decisions, by default, they will. And it's the same thing with entrepreneurs. So many people have the business they have because they don't realize they're allowed to have something else.
Yeah.
Like
that's so true. And I find that not just in business, Erin, but in life, right? Like we do very similar work. And so like talking about all these other areas of life. And when I ask people what they want, they stutter, they don't know. So I get to the point where I ask the question, what do you complain about the most? What are you frustrated by? What are you tolerating? What, like, what would you, if you had a magic wand and could change it and wish it to be something different? Because we struggle so much with saying what we want. And how can you go after something if you don't know what it is that you want? Right. And I'm a firm believer, I have to be careful because I used to hit myself in the head with this, but like when you have a headlamp on, when you camp, like I live in the Northwest and we use camping lights that are like on this big, huge elastic band that go on your head because you need both hands. And so you go wherever you shine your light. Right. And so if you're focused on what you don't want, guess what? I mean, you know this, right? That's what you get.
The way that I was taught that was in driver's ed in Chicago in 1985, because here's what happened. We were down the block at a different school that had a big parking lot, and we were in the parking lot driving very slowly in circles. And it just so happened I took driver's ed in summer, and there were these really, really cute college kids painting the fence for the parking lot.
Oh, that's funny.
Which means we're looking at them. And the instructor said, hey girls, just so you know, the car will go wherever you're looking. So if you don't want to kill the cute college boys that you're looking at them, stop looking at them.
That's so funny.
Horses do that too. They will go wherever you're looking. You don't even mean it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I want to talk briefly about two things. This, those of you that are listening or watching this is in December, towards the very end of the year. But I know we are taping this actually in August, that you have something coming up in November, I believe it is.
Yes.
That is tied to your wildlife rescue. So why don't you share, by the time people are listening, this will have happened, but like share what's happening.
Awesome. Possum. So one of my life goals for a very long time was to donate $1 million to wildlife rescue. I had no idea what that meant. I didn't think it was save $1 million and give it to somebody. And it's not completely altruistic because I figure if I show up with a large amount of money, they'll let me play with the baby elephants or whatever else it is that I've got going. And then just this last 4 or 5 months ago, it kind of solidified because it was a combination of watching, like I donate money to wildlife and pets, all the time. Wherever I am, I go do something, I donate money, right? We were in Charleston in January. I donated money to the aquarium while I was there and got a behind the scenes tour, right? So, okay, fine. So I was doing that all over the place. And at the same time, I'm watching TikTok because I'm actually a 13-year-old boy inside. I'm watching TikTok, right? And I don't know what bad news everyone else gets, but my algorithm knows baby goats, dogs, right? And that's what I'm getting. And I'm watching all of these sanctuaries and rescues that do a great job with the animals, but they don't know how to raise money. Like there's these stories about they use GoFundMe, okay, but there's all these stories about, the old farmer dies and he's got 3 donkeys and there's no one to take care of them. And then there's the horse sanctuary and they would take care of them, but they don't have a barn. And oh my God, what are we going to do? Well, guess what I know how to do? I know how to make money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the idea came to me that the way it's going to play out, the way I'm going to donate my $1 million is by launching my own foundation, because I don't have the attention span to pick one category. And my boyfriend's thrilled to death I said foundation and not sanctuary. And because this could have gone either way. This could have gone either way. Right? Could have gone either way. And so Riley's Fund. Riley is, that was named well before I lost Riley. We lost Riley literally 4 or 5 days ago. Riley's Fund is launching on November 20th. With a launch party. My big fancy friends told me, you have to have a gala. People will donate more money at a gala. And I said, my friends don't want a gala. My people want wild. And my people want to pet a turkey vulture, right?
Yeah.
And I found a facility that will let me have food and wild animals in the same building at the same time. And we're doing a launch party November 20th. But by the time this airs, Riley's Fund will have its website and everything will be set up. And our tagline is supporting those who support animals. And we will offer grants to a wide variety of people who are doing the right thing and just need a little help doing it. One of the women at the wildlife rescue where I volunteer, she's an employee there, is on the board, and she's going to be she's the person who could look at the rescue and the sanctuary to make sure they're doing the right things, so that we only give money to people who are doing the right things. But
that's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean,
and part of what I love about that, Erin, and what I want to end on is the fact that you have this desire to do this. And so many times I see people have a desire and they think they have to do it themselves.
Oh God, no.
Right?
God, no.
But you are doing it yourself, meaning you had the idea then, how can I do this in collaboration with other people and make it happen, right? So using your lane of genius to make it happen. So I know that by the time people are listening to this, it's going to be wildly successful, pun intended. And so if somebody, like, I know you're probably building out right now, but if it's Riley's Fund, is that kind of what you're looking at for the domain?
Yeah, we already have it. Riley's Fund. I think it's .com. I don't remember. If it's not, it's .org. You can go check. That's the domain. It'll all be set up. The logo is almost approved.
Nice.
Yeah, I think people make things too hard.
Yeah.
And my assistant and I have a running joke where the theme is, are we supposed to know what we're doing? No? Okay, just checking.
Well, let's do it.
Like, it doesn't have, we did that with our podcast. We launched a podcast. Do you know how to do a podcast? No, but we're smart people. We can figure this out.
Yep.
And people wait till they have the perfect situation and they're getting ready to get ready. And none of it matters. And none of it matters, because the beauty is it's like a good news, bad news thing. The bad news is no one's paying attention. And that's frustrating when you want people to pay attention. But the good news is no one's paying attention. So if you screw it up the first couple times, odds are no one's going to know. So
right? Absolutely. Absolutely. So Erin, if somebody wants to find out a little bit more about what you do, how you help people not only become the people that they need to be, but to put it into action, specifically kind of in that marketing lane, how does somebody get a hold of you?
Sure. The easiest thing to do is check out the website, conqueryourbusiness.com. There's always a pop-up. There's always a contact form. There's always a million things going on, but conqueryourbusiness.com is the best way to get a feel for all of it.
Perfect. Erin, thank you so much. As always, it's such a joy to have a conversation with you. And with that, folks, it is a wrap. If you would like to reach out to me. I would love to help you gain clarity. And I promise you, you'll have more clarity after spending 30 minutes with me than you did at the beginning of that 30 minutes. So please go out to www.leadyourlituplife.com. It can also be found in the show notes. And with that, everybody have a fantastic week. We'll see you next week.